Hi, this is Ryan Vincent Logsdon, the director of Agony, and you're listening to the iWalter podcast.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, this is Walter from iWalter. And it's January, sorry about that, January 2017. This will be, back to my solo shows, I guess, for now, give or take, because I may see Ryan at the end of this month of January, and I might actually meet up with him again. I'm not sure yet if I'll be able to do a podcast. I would love to, but I can't guarantee anything. But I really do want to thank Ryan, because obviously he had an excellent voice. That's why I had to use his opening, what do you call it? I can't even think of the correct word right now. But the opening monologue, well, amongst the one I always use. Plug in my show. That's what I wanted to look for, the word plug. I'm just trying to, because I learned a lot from the interview I did with Ryan and Todd, that I guess my voice does carry a little bit too loud and gets a little bit sporadic. So I'm trying not to do that this time. I do have a lot of stories. A lot of things have happened, even in the last couple days. Believe it or not, I'll be going away again on a trip on February 13th, Friday the 13th. I'm actually I was not going to do it, but I had some issues at work, and I decided, you know what? I'm not going to waste all my time, but I'm going to take it for granted that I have 4 weeks vacation again this year. So I decided that I'm going to go to Blairstown again. I wasn't at first, but then I decided to do so because actually that Monday we have off for Martin Luther King's birthday. So it was this is actually kind of works out for me if I have a 4-day weekend, basically. So, actually it was kind of funny. I saw this. I was looking for some stories to kind of talk about tonight. And actually what I had seen, and I'm probably just going to read the titles, I guess, because I want to keep this fairly short. I got some things that had occurred at work that's going to make my job a little bit more complicated, more difficult. So in order for me to continue, sorry about that, I need to pick up some paperwork from doctors and stuff. It's just stuff that they seem not to make an issue out with other people, but me, they seem to make my life as difficult as possible, so I'll get to the point that I'll just walk out, which I actually, on Thursday, I believe it was Thursday. Was that Thursday? Wow, I lose track of time. I guess it was. I was very close to doing so, because was it Thursday? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Thursday, and I already had planned off because, I don't know if I mentioned, I did go see that film. What was it? Drawing a blank right this second. Give me a sec. Give me a moment. I don't want to repeat myself. Phantasm 2, which I was actually hoping to meet up with Roberto Casada, but unfortunately the man did not show up, so I was a little bit disappointed because it was actually a movie that he was, pretty much the producer of, more so than, even though he had a lot to do with the original Phantasm 1, he had even more of, more of a name in the second one. So I was hoping, hey, maybe they can get him back because he actually is a photographer at this point in his life within the area of Phoenixville. So it was hey, no-brainer. The man will show up, but he did not. So either that or I just had missed him. I'm not sure. So So I had off that day on Friday, but yeah, I was just so angry at work. I actually said, hey, here's my badge. I quit. And they said, oh, no, don't do that. So I actually shocked a lot of people, and they still see me there. They actually did not want me to go home. Unfortunately, though, it just turned into a whole thing of how to blame Walter for the issues that I am having. It was like, well, hate to tell you, you're giving me more work than you give than what is humanly possible for one person to do. And it's been it's been specified before through doctors. It's like, listen, Walter will do fine at any job you give him, but you can't overwork the man. I mean, I had this from a neurologist and other things. I mean, but so what do? Is they pile work on me that's, again, it's not humanly possible to do all the work they expect out of one person. And it was like, listen, okay, I've had enough. And I actually did physically hand over my badge, because we have badges where I work, and said, basically, in a nice way, but in so many words or less, fuck you, I'm gone. You can find somebody else to do this job that you had, put on to me that is more than one person's job. And you have, like, at the moment I said that, there was like at least a half a dozen to a dozen people sitting around doing nothing. So it's like, it's supposed to be a team effort when I don't see it. And my difficulties where I have issues on doing certain tasks, but yet you include those into a plethora of other jobs. So I even actually emailed a higher up and said, listen, hey, if you can't, we can't resolve this situation, I gave two alternatives, one being perhaps maybe you can give me a job in a different area, that way you don't have to deal with me at all. And if that's not going to be the case, then I could simply resign. I'll give you my notice. I'll get a job in retail, which I made very specific too. I said, when I handed my badge, I said, hey, I'm taking a loss in pay, but the aggravation's just not worth it. I mean, I would be taking a major cut in pay. I mean, any job I'd find outside of where I work would be literally about an eighth of the pay. So that's a major cut. So I was willing to go that far. I'll find out tomorrow because I'll be back at work, and I'm not looking forward to it. So anyway, enough of that nonsense. It's nonsense to everyone else except me. Hopefully everyone had a, interested in fulfilling New Year's Eve. I know I kind of did. I definitely enjoyed my time with Todd Thomas and Ryan Logston because we did a 4-hour podcast. Now, I don't think I'll ever get remotely close to anything that long again until I meet up with Ryan or a couple people again. But I really very much so enjoyed that. And I feel really bad, just in case, not that he would, but a friend of a friend, Monty, I can't pronounce his last name, apologize about that, Monty, had a wedding viewing. I think that's what you call it, a wedding, the thing afterward. I don't know what you call it. I'm horrible with everything. Me and my friend Matt Torrance, we were both invited, and I got cold feet, and it didn't help. I texted Monty. I don't mean to be that cold, but it's the only way I'm sure to get a hold of Monty. Because I even got a wedding card for him. I'm just going to probably, I hate to say this, I'll just probably return it at this point. Not that I'm that stingy, because I even asked my friend Matt, should I get him, like a gift card, because that's what he seemed like him and his wife wanted, were gift cards to Bed Bath & Beyond. And my friend Matt said, if you really don't go, don't bother to give him a gift card, because and it was like, okay, that's fine, because actually my paycheck also had taken a dive in pay, because basically I'm not working overtime, not getting the pay. I'm literally getting about, I would say after taxes, about $400 or $500 less in a paycheck a week, which is a lot of money. So I was kind of relieved him to say that, not to be stingy. It's just like I finally got myself clear before the beginning of the year, which I wanted to do. Any debts that I have now are going to be for this year, not from last year carried over. So, again, Matt won, so I was glad he actually did go. I would have loved to go. I just got cold feet. I'm just not a people person. which is kind of, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, you can go, Walter, you can go to a screening, or not a screening, but a showing of the movie Phantasm 2, where you get a lot of people. I go to movies by myself, but for some reason it's different because I don't actually have to intermingle or communicate with these people. I can just basically, I'm one of these people, I can be in a full room full of people, but doesn't mean I'm talking to those people at all or even communicating. So it's a little bit different when you go to a wedding thing, whatever you call it, because there you're kind of almost feel like you're obligated. You have to communicate with these people. My friend Matt, he's like me. He actually has a difficult time conversing with people. Not as bad as I do, but it was a big issue. And I, between work the night before and probably thinking of that, I'm not quite sure, because my friend Matt said, maybe you were thinking about this too much. I was like, no, it was separate issues. They just kind of overlapped, and it did not help. So I had two different situations, and both were very extreme for me to handle, which caused a panic attack. Actually, I didn't mention it to my friend Todd or Ryan when I did that interview, but I was even kind of, freaking out about that, because I was, hey, I made plans with my friend Matt, and I kind of backed out of those a couple weeks in advance, though, but I still backed out. So that kind of really got dug inside my head, like, okay, dude, I feel really bad. What's Matt going to be doing, my friend Matt Torrance, for the holidays? We were supposed to go to New York City. Instead, I said, Matt, you don't mind? I called him and left a message. You don't mind if I go to Wilkesboro instead? Because I said I might do an interview with Ryan, which turned out very successful. So anyway, the problem was that with that, though, when the day came, I got myself so stressed out that morning before we did the interview with Ryan and Todd. My gums were actually bleeding. I actually had puddles of blood in my mouth, and it was coming from my gum lines. And it was and that was definitely stress. It wasn't from not brushing my teeth right. If anything, I probably brushed them too hard and used dental floss a little bit too harsh as well. So it was obviously, and then the same thing happened again with this whole going back to work, and then being there, and this being told to do the job of 12 people by myself, just basically led to, again, the bleeding gums, and my heart was racing. I've never felt it. I know my one friend, he says he's had panic attacks. I haven't really any that I remember recently, but I'm sure I've had them in the past. But it was definitely a full-blown panic attack, which just basically got to the point. It was like, listen, hey, I basically need to leave this job because it's not worth the stress that I am under. I'm literally having a panic attack. I told the boss, I have 8 bosses. Anytime I have to even basically take a shit, I got to basically verify it, email it, and write it to 8 different bosses to tell them where I'm going to be at that moment in time, while you got 12 people sitting around basically watching movies and TV shows, or goofing off, or being boisterous, or whatever they're doing, and not having a word said. The boss will just look at them and just turn their head and there's nothing. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? And BS with them. So it's issues like that, and I've noticed, I've said this for a while, and I've never heard even a response back from any of my friends, but I've said, and I truly believe this, because after what I heard on the news, or read on the news, heard on the news, seen on the news, that you got all these people now that are all, victims of Trump, women, minorities of some sort, these wacko leftists who all feel like they're victimized. And it was like, listen, I kind of made it very clear for the last couple of years that I've been at my job, and even elsewhere probably, that, hey, I'm a true well, not a true, but I pushed towards the conservative side, and I had been promoting Trump for the last year and a half or whatever it was, way before. And, you got people when they saw Trump get in office, the women, I had one woman in particular who said that, hey, I'm not going to let guys grab my my vagina because, Trump's going to allow that to happen. I was like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. That's not going to happen. He was using that in a, just to catch people's attention. Oh, I'm going to punch so-and-so in the Hey Nanny Natty. No, he was saying that just to grab people's attention, and the shock value actually worked. So, but, I got these, I see this every day, not even at work, but also outside of work, where women just look at you like you're ready to rape them. Like I look like some type of serial killer to them. And it's like my friend will say, well, maybe you're just taking it too seriously. It's like, no, trust me, I can just feel the vibes, and they're very obvious. I even said to somebody, I said, well, you know what, I hate to tell you, but most of these criminal acts and sexual criminal acts, a lot of them that I read come right out of Lansdale and Norristown, Philadelphia. So you never read about me on these. Sorry about that, my voice raised. You don't read about me in these stories, but I do read about everybody else. So hey, pointing the finger at me is not going to justify your misdemeanors, or whatever you want to call them, your sexual perverted ideas that you have kind of, what do you call it? I can't even think of the right word, projected onto me. You're basically, if you feel that I'm that bad of a person, you're probably trying to take the focus off yourself, because for you to have those ideas in your head, now you're going to say, well, Walter, you're saying this stuff, so maybe it's you too also that has these perverted ideas and stuff, and you're trying to reflect them onto somebody else. No, absolutely not. But I do see it with other people, and it just makes me feel very uncomfortable. This is the reason I don't even like to leave the house. I'll stay home until I got to go to work. I like to do my job and come home and just mind my own business, stay up most of the night so I can go back to work again. Not that I want to do that, but it's just I can't deal with this level of stupidity and childish, I don't know how else to put it, this infantile behavior you get from so many people right now. And I've said, this is the part I said to my friends, by the way, because I have it takes me an hour just to get to that spot, which actually has already taken me like 20 minutes almost, that I said to people, I haven't heard a response, and I've been dying to hear one that actually sees what I do, that I'm really not just this is not my own head. But I've definitely noticed that it's gotten worse. I mean, there's been 2 incidents of criminal acts. Actually, if I remember, well, one was with a white male who had, what is it? I want to say psychological problems or something, and he got beaten up and tied up and abused by 2 black girls and 2 black guys. In Chicago, I believe, and then there was that incident in Florida. So, these things seem to surface on race crimes, race hate crimes, and yet they're not being tagged as that, because I heard this actually on one of the people, Rush Limbaugh's show. He'll be back on tomorrow, Monday, that they basically said, quote unquote, I think it was Mark Stein or Bud Sexton, I think is the other guy who covers the show. He said if any time there's a crime that is committed towards a white person, especially a white male, if I remember correctly, you can hear, if you listen to the recaps of last week's show on Rush, they said that it's not considered a hate crime. It's just considered something that gets kind of pushed under the rug, so to speak, in my own terms. But yet, if the same exact crime was from a white male or a white person committed on a black person or somebody of a different, origin, I guess, or a minority group, then it's definitely considered a hate crime. And I think it was actually, Mark Stein and Bud Sexton. I think it was Bud who actually did say that. I'll have to look that up. I actually didn't think I was going to go into that, honestly, because I forgot. But I do distinctly remember that. And I was actually going to pull the soundbite clip from, I think, again, it was Bud Sexton who said that, because he was on, I think, Wednesday's show, if I remember correctly, from last week. And I was going to pull that just to show you, like, hey, this is not me just stating this or saying this with nothing to back it up, with no other evidence being shown elsewhere, any other source. and Bud actually got his from other places. So, yeah, that's not something I just came up with on the top of my head. That's actually the truth. You know, if you're a white male, especially if the crime is committed against you, it's not going to go very far. But if it's the other way around, then it goes very far. It becomes like a news story. Otherwise, you will not read it. You're going to have to really dig for a story that may have just even recently just happened, which happened last week. Both incidents happened last weekend because it's not even Monday yet. Anyway, I'm trying to get to this, but on a lighter note, it was on comicbook.com. That Rogue One movie actually came in number 1 for the 4th week in a row. So that's pretty impressive because it is January 8th. Actually, yesterday, though, January 7th is 1 month from my birthday, which I'll be turning 50 years old, the big 50. So I'm going to make sure to take off that day. I don't want to be at work having like 40 jobs to do all by myself. Well, you should be able to do that. It's really your responsibility. Yeah, I won't be there. How's that? That'll really take care of the problem. Anyway, it says, Rogue One, Star Wars story has claimed the top spot at the box office for a 4th consecutive week. That's weekend. Rogue One, Star Wars story earned $21.9 million at the box office over this past weekend, putting its domestic box office total at $477 million. Now, that's just domestic, though, by the way, folks. So I would say, because internationally, I think it even made that much more again. So it's got to be over at this point within the 4-week span, 1 month span. I would say it's got to be over $1 billion that movie made. And honestly, that is one movie that I actually really did like. Sorry, I lost my thing. What I meant, how my recording is going. So, yeah, that's actually very impressive. So Rogue One. I got different stories plastered everywhere, but that one was on the top of like 2 piles of stories I actually had popped up. Let's see what I want. Oh, okay, because I'm going to keep at least with 1 or 2 light stories before I hit into more depressing stuff. I actually found this yesterday. I was looking for newer movies so I could find something to go see. When my birthday is in the next couple weeks. And I did see this one story, and I thought it was really cool. Not about movies, though. That's what's a weird thing. It was actually about that video game called Injustice, which I really liked. They're making a sequel to that game that's coming out in May 2017. Now, Injustice is like a DC fighting game, kind of like Mortal Kombat, but you got all the Justice League and more, all the villains, all the good guys from the DC universe. And actually, when I first played that game, I really liked it because, I loved the DC comics on TV shows. And I read this somewhere, but most of your TV shows are all based on DC comics anyhow. You really don't see too many that are in the Marvel universe. There's a few, which obviously, kind of hit the ground pretty successfully in the Marvel universe in, in the movie world. But most of your stuff since the 70s and actually probably since the 50s, if you think of it, and maybe even the 40s and so on, were actually all DC characters. Because if you go way back in the black and whites serials and stuff, they were like Batman. There was a Batman serial, like little short black and white 15-20 minutes like Flash Gordon and everything back in the day. There was also Batman and also Superman and some other characters that actually just were always very popular. So DC, in my opinion, has always been what I could not relate to, but I actually enjoyed much more than Marvel comics. I never really got into the Marvel comics. I never read either one of them. But I grew up literally with Superman, Batman, and stuff since I was my earliest memories of watching television. Comic books. I read something completely different. I read Richie Rich, Casper, Wendy the Witch, things like that. But I never read any like superhero comics. I just never felt the need to do so. Whatever you want to say. So that's pretty cool that game is coming out in May, I said, 2017. I thought that was like awesome because it's games that actually, a game that I actually won't play an awful heck of a lot, but at the same time, it is a game that I at least can say, hey, I really enjoy playing this. So, to me that means much more. Let's see. I got to get back into the groove of things. No puns intended. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Now I have to, because I wanted to finish this one pile of stories. This is why I want to do it. But I read this, and I actually tried to post it on my Facebook page, and guess what? It never got posted. So I had to dig for it again and from a different source, because I saw this today. It was like, you got to be kidding me. But somebody came up with a genius idea, these women, black women, who decided to cash in on basically a white guilt or black guilt from white people. And I'm not even kidding. This is a real story. And it was from Vice News, because I don't even know what the original source was from. But it says white people are paying this business to get rid of their white guilt. And what they're doing is these women are selling safety pins in a box, literally safety pins in a box. And it looked like for $100 a month, you buy a subscription and it'll just send you out literally safety pins you put on your, I want to think of the right word, your lapel or whatever. Yeah, it says lapels. That came forth after election of Donald Trump. So, I'll see if I can read this. It says this segment originally aired in December 23rd, 2016, on Vice News Tonight on the HBO. It says, when organizers Marissa Johnson and Leslie Mack saw the white people pinning safety pins to their lapels after the election, election of Donald Trump, they thought it was stupid, but then they smelled a business opportunity. So the safety pin is to make America great again hat for white people who didn't vote for Trump and want everyone to know it. Whereas they were showing people of color they're safe with white people by wearing a safety pin, and they're actually like black safety pins. In the eyes of Johnson and Mack, the pin is an empty gesture. It is white people making themselves feel better without actually doing anything of substance, they say. So, it's a little bit of I don't know, I can't even think of the correct word, but it says their solution, the safety pin box, a monthly subscription service modeled on services like Birchbox for $100 a month. Subscribers get a box of tasks to complete that are aimed at making them more woke. Johnson and Mack pocket some of the profits and give some of the money away to black women activists. So the whole thing is just, I guess, I don't even know what to say. It's you're cashing in on just stupidity is basically what you're doing. So I did see that, and I was just like kind of questioning this whole thing. People are just out of control with this whole guilt complex they have towards Donald Trump winning, and women feel like they're like these gay activist groups seem like they're not being treated, they're not going to be treated rightly. It's like the man hasn't even taken office yet, and you're making all these accusations that you don't even know what's going to happen. Generally, you wait until the man gets into office. God, you never heard of this with President Barack Obama. For the last 8 years, you definitely never heard of it, before he got in. What you did hear was people apologizing for the United States for the things that President Bush did. But you never heard, and when, President Obama has been in for 8 years and hasn't done anything but just make things worse and make health insurance much more expensive and definitely unattainable, unaffordable, even though you have to have it. Nothing's been said about that, but Trump hasn't even taken office yet, and yet all you hear is complaining, and then people attacking others for no good reason. Now, here we go. It was from the Dream and Demon. I found this particular article, but it was posted everywhere. It was actually mentioned on Rush's show from one of the hosts it covered. But it said 4 in custody after torture of a man live streamed on Facebook, Chicago, Illinois. This was the guy who had, he had psychiatric problems, and he is a victim of a hate crime by 4 black people, 2 guys and 2 girls, and nothing was done about it. It was actually just kind of pushed under the rug. Police have 4 people in custody after a woman live streamed a duct tape man being tortured. According to police, the victim is a special needs person who is an acquaintance of one of the suspects. He was reported missing from a suburb after he met with the suspects. So, but you won't hear anything about this. They they pushed it way under the carpet as far as they could go. And this guy was brutally attacked, duct taped, and tortured for hours. And the man is a special needs kid, and he didn't do anything wrong. So he's just he probably didn't even. The only reason he got attacked because he was a white male. Not that he even voted for Trump or anything else. It was just he was just a victim of circumstance, I guess would be the proper word. I don't know, but it definitely was. So anyway, I see this story still. I got actually another story, not similar to this, but something on this line. I mentioned this, I think the other day, Caitlin Nicole Davis, 12 years old. Maybe I did mention this. She actually was on the Dreamin' Demon. Now, they took down the video, which was up, and yes, I was unfortunately one of the people who did watch it. I'm not laughing, trust me. Where she actually hangs herself and is live streaming it on the internet. So Dreamin' Demon actually had the video up. It has now since been removed. And I feel bad. This poor 12-year-old girl, she's had a Twitter page and a Facebook page or something like that. Those do, I think, still remain. But her video, which was posted, is no longer there. It's been taken down, obviously, because the girl committed suicide. 12-year-old girl. And I'm serious, I watched part of it. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but she was literally apologizing to everybody of why she was killing herself. And then she basically puts the noose around her head. She stands on a bucket, and she kicks the bucket out. And the video footage continues to roll for a good couple, I think at least 40 minutes. And nothing is said or done. And she obviously dies. I guess that would be considered asphyxiation, suffocation, whatever. I don't know what you really would call that. But she hung herself from a tree outside her house, where were her parents? She's 12 years old. And she was swaying back and forth basically she was dead. The body was swaying back and forth. And you've seen, the sun go down while the video was still rolling. So this was actually on Dreamin' Demon. I did see it. So I'm not making this stuff up. And, it was I didn't go all the way through 40 minutes. I don't want to see some kid hanging there her tree for 40 minutes, but I watched most of it. They kind of highlight what the video had. I actually seen it with my own eyes, and I fast forwarded to the end, and it was you hear a dog barking in the background, a neighbor's dog, and nobody actually ever came to cut her down, I guess. So she basically was there for at least 40 minutes, probably for hours, without anybody doing that. So that to me was, I sent it to a couple friends, and I mean, my main thing is how do you let this stuff go on? And actually, it's one of these things when that one guy, I can't remember his name, who went on the news and actually said, oh, everything's all right, it's all right, and he stuck a gun in his mouth and he blew his brains out. It was that kind of feel to it. But unfortunately, I think as a society, we've become so, I can't even think, so desensitized when we see stuff like this. A child who feels like it's no longer, she has no meaning, no desire to live anymore at 12 years old. We look at this stuff, and even myself, you don't even get, oh my God, you don't get that shock or whatever. I mean, I've dealt with this stuff. I remember when I was a teenager myself, or in my early 20s, a girl who hung herself, and I didn't have to see it, and it had torn me apart. Now, this, I guess, this violence is just such a norm, and in our society, maybe it's from film and media, just making it such a glorious thing that when you actually see it, you don't even think like this is really happening. Like, you literally become completely desensitized. I think that's not a good thing either. So, excuse me, I had to bring that up. So there's a bunch of stories like that I actually all from the Dream and Demon I have up. There's one, it says, couple arrested after a 1-year-old girl stabbed in her genitals multiple times. This was in San Diego, Texas. Police have arrested a woman and her boyfriend for a brutal sexual assault of the woman's 1-year-old relative. So it's always these, because there's another story similar to this, a woman and her boyfriend who kill these innocent children. I mean, I don't understand the motive behind this. I really don't. I'm just reading these stories. If I find this other one, which again was kind of, it's on that line, maybe I'll just take a quick look and get out of the way because it's on the same line. Here we go. This was a story actually I didn't even hear about. My parents brought it to my attention. It was on the radio because it was actually in Jersey. We live in Pennsylvania, so obviously we get, from KYW, get the Jersey news. Now, this one I never heard of, and I found the article of all places on the Daily Mail. And this one actually says, mother and boyfriend charged after her 14-year-old adopted daughter was raped, slaughtered, and chopped up into sick, raped murder fantasy, chopped up. And then it just goes on to say, sick, raped murder fantasy. They plotted for more than a year. So they basically, my parents told me about this at dinner of all places tonight. We went out to eat at this diner, American Star. I think it's American Star up in Lansdale. And it was like, you got to be kidding. So I found the story, and it happened in Jersey. So it says Sarah Packer and Jacob Sullivan reportedly plotted the death of Grace Packer. The Abington, Pennsylvania couple desired to fulfill a dark sexual fantasy, so they adopted a 12-year-old girl with the only motive is, not after they adopted her, was to basically brutally and chop her up, brutally murder her. Her body wasn't discovered until Halloween by 2 hunters. Packer lied by implying her daughter was alive to collect Social Security. So she also, she adopted this kid, a 12-year-old, which is very difficult. Generally, people don't want kids that are, infants. They don't want like teenage children. They want to, or even tween children, or whatever you want to call them. They want babies. But this in this particular case, I don't even know how they got through. It was this woman, and she was not very young either, who adopted a 13-year-old with intentions of killing the kid and in a brutal way. So there's pictures and stuff, not of the murder, thank goodness, but of other things. So, yeah, this is the most horrific story, and this just happened, or at least it was mentioned. It's dated January 8th, so it was today. A mother and her boyfriend allegedly planned to rape and murder a 14-year-old adopted daughter for over a year. I've already read that. On Sunday morning, Jacob Sullivan was charged with the kidnapping, rape, and murder of Grace Packard. A few hours later, Sarah Packer was charged with homicide and related offenses. So it's going to be I kind of glanced over this already. It looks like it's going to be a slap on the wrist. Grace was driven from her home in Abington, Pennsylvania, the morning of July 8th by the couple to their rented property in Quakertown. So that's Quakertown, Pennsylvania. It was mentioned just today, though, because I guess this actually came to light, even though it did happen last summer. It says Grace Packer's corpse was kept in the attic of a rented home in Quakertown for 4 months, literally 4 months, and it has a picture of the house in Quakertown. Yeah, this is a very disturbing. It's a shame about this poor kid. I mean, she was probably just so happy to get adopted, and yet it ends not very pleasantly. She was then allegedly raped by Sullivan while her mother watched. Afterwards, the teenager was said to have been pumped with pills and left to suffocate in the attic of on a sweltering day. Because we did have a very hot summer. When Packer and Sullivan returned to the attic in mid-October, they are believed to have cut up Grace's corpse in with a bow saw. So, yeah, it just goes on to be even more horrific as you read the story. Detectives would later find receipts for the saw and spare blades in Packer's possession. It says the couple allegedly scattered Grace's remains on a road in Lutheran County. It looks like Lutheran County, 2 hours north of Philadelphia. The body would be discovered by two hunters on Halloween. Grace's body was able to be identified through dental records. It's always the dental records that give it away, I guess. So the child before then was considered pretty much missing, put in for, they put it in that she was missing, but actually she was brutally murdered by her adopted mother. So I just kind of, again, I have to question this stuff over and over again. I'm the one who gets looked at, and I know my friend Matt gets tired of hearing me talk about this stuff, especially for a new year 2017. But generally these people that are the ones who are looking down upon me are the ones who are the ones that really have some things that need to be questioned within their own lives. So that's my whole thing. Let me see if I can find some other lighter story, which I seriously doubt it, but I'll try because I got two. Oh, okay, here's a lighter story. Just lighten the mood for a little bit. One of my favorite shows, because I watch, obviously, a lot of TV. My friend Matt always picks on me about this. Was actually one of the favorite shows was like back in the day when I started at my job. One was actually Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the other one was actually Charmed. I actually saw enough of Charmed on reruns on TV, look different channels. They used to post it. It actually had on there, because I saw her actually the other day. I got to mention that. I can't remember her name right now. Chick with breast cancer right now. I'm trying to look for her name because I was actually supposed to get a photo off of her at some convention. It's gonna anyway. Charm's gonna have a reboot supposedly. I don't know if it's gonna be. It says Charm reboot to be a standalone show. So yeah, that'd be Hollywell. It was the one. I'm trying to think because I actually liked her. Even though she's hard, I heard to work with. The one I'm thinking of with the breast cancer. Because I just saw her in Mallrats. I have to talk about that for a minute. I have to thank Ryan for this, too, at least with the Mallrats thing, amongst some other suggestions. I'm trying to look up her name. Okay, let's see. Charmed themselves, convincing actress Rose McGowan, Holly Marie Combs, and I am not seeing the one I'm looking for. So, yeah, if it does come back, I have to look for this name either way now. Yeah, now it's giving the characters' names on this article, but it's not actually giving me... But yeah, they've been talking about that for years, making a reboot of Charmed, but they never really did it. So, and it's actually been very successful still because of comic books and other things. There's just been always a cult following for Charmed. It just never went away, and they keep on re-releasing the episodes. Okay, Shannon, I can always get her last name wrong. Shannon. Doherty. I always get that incorrect. But yeah, Shannon actually was funny mentioning that. I did see when I did that podcast with Ryan Logston and Todd Thomas, it was kind of funny actually because he was mentioning about Mallrats and how like Kevin Smith was into somewhere in our discussion, our 4-hour discussion. He said, "Oh yeah, what was it?" He said that Kevin Smith wasn't too pleased about the Blu-ray edition with the extended cut of Mallrats and the regular cut. So here, wow, I'm almost going up to an hour. Unfortunately, I want to keep it around not too far over an hour if I do. So I'm going to have to kind of speed this up a little bit. Anyway, yeah, not Shannon Dari. Ryan said that, yeah, this second cut, this extended cut, which was actually like a little over 2 hours. So I got to figure out how long Mallrats was, the original one, because I actually don't remember. But the movie was cut so differently, like it wasn't even the same movie. It was actually a different cut of the same movie. Like the premise ended up, the storyline ended up the same at the very end. But as far as footage goes, the movie was like completely different. And it was like, wow, I don't know how he did that. And Ryan said, I'm sorry if you heard that podcast. Ryan said that I'm trying to put in Mallrats, and actually I put Malls Rats. Oh, here we go, Mallrats. That was 95. I'm trying to look for the time. It was like Kevin Smith's second film. But, yeah, it was cut so much differently. It was like some of the footage from the original one, but there was so much footage that kind of changed everything except the very end of the story. No, it says like the original was 2 hours and 3 minutes. So maybe I just don't remember a lot of the footage, but it seemed to me like almost like a completely different film to me. So, because there was one part in the film, if you're familiar with Kevin Smith's, View Ask You world and everything like that, there was a scene that I don't think they shot this in Jersey, but there was one scene in particular, they went past a Quickie Mart in the Mallrats movie, at least the extended cut. So it was like, yeah, there was so much in there that was like just completely, to me, it seemed completely different from what I remember watching. And again, it's because it's been a long time too. But I mean, there's certain things that you just kind of remember, and there's other things I just don't remember at all. So, again, this is not Mallrats, which I don't think is ever going to happen at this point. It was supposed to be a movie, and then it was supposed to be, what do you call it? It was supposed to be a mini-series, and I don't even know what's happening at this point. My guess is probably nothing. I don't know, because I know a lot of people were on board to do the sequel to Mallrats, even though it's like 30-some years or 30 years later. But yeah, so I was watching this. It was like, wow, this movie is quite different than the original cut. So now it's not as funny. I mean, there is some. They actually cut out the one scene. I asked a friend to confirm this. I said, wasn't there that one scene in Mallrats in the very beginning of the film where they're discussing? I think it was Brody and JL or something like that. I can't remember. Let's see if I can. Jason Lee, TS. Okay, I was way off. TS. They were discussing about this girl, which was a reference to basically Clerks, which was not directly, where they kind of bring up about the funeral that was taking place in Clerks, where they said the girl whose funeral it was, she died because somebody told her that, hey, you got extremely fat, you look like you kind of put on some weight, or that going on television put on some weight, and by doing that, she panicked and she ended up swimming, at the high school swimming pool. Sorry, I'm trying to watch something in the background. They're showing all the Final Destination movies, and those always kind of really get to me. I got to talk about that too. So anyway, yeah, that was a reference in the beginning of Mallrats where the girl basically causes herself a brain aneurysm. So it was mentioned in the beginning of the film of Mallrats. Well, that was completely omitted from the recut of the Mallrats extended edition. So as a standalone movie, if you really are a Kevin Smith, fan, like you like Kevin Smith stuff, I would have to say that I do recommend the film for that purpose only. That hey, there's even though it had changed quite a bit, like the movie is like a completely different film. At the same time, that's kind of interesting because you're not watching pretty much the exact same film a second time around. You're watching actually the way that the film turns out is pretty much the same. But overall, you're watching almost like, telling the same story in a different way, so to speak. But that makes any sense. So that alone just kind of got like okay, this actually kind of works for me because when Mallrats actually first came out, I was one of the people that really just never thought it was that great of a film. I was kind of actually really disappointed, in fact. And over the years, it kind of grew on me. Be able to see it from like a different perspective. That's probably, yes, it isn't as funny. But at the same time, it is at least not watching exactly the same movie, even though the outcome is exactly the same. If that makes any sense. Like, what happens in the end, where, what is it? What was it? Because I already forgot. TS or something? Let me see if I can find that now, because I actually shut down the page. I'm trying to look. Oh, great. I'm going to have to... Should have shut down that page so quickly, so I did. I'm going to put it in again. Boy, I have the gift for gab. Yeah, TS, the ending with TS and his girlfriend getting back together, that ends up being this exactly the same. Well, what about everything else? Well, everything else, the path they take is actually quite different. And I remember distinctly at the end, because me and Ryan and Todd were talking about this, but the very end of Mallrats in the theatrical version, it does say quite clearly at the end of the movie that next film was supposed to be Dogma, which actually didn't take place because the Mallrats did so poorly that they actually changed it from Mallrats to Chasing Amy, because he basically the film became technically at that time, not saying over the years it did not pay off, but at that time it pretty much became a flop. So yeah, it said next film coming out was Dogma, because that was like the film that he really wanted to do, and he ended up not doing it next. So anyway, on the extended edition, what does it say at the very end of the film if you sit through all the credits? It said Kevin Smith's, or no, it says the next film coming out, basically, from The View Askew or Kevin Smith, whatever. I can't remember quite what it says, but I do remember this. It did say next film was going to be Chasing Amy. It was like, no, Chasing Amy wasn't even thought of until Kevin Smith did disappointed, I guess, what do you call it? Had disappointed the movie company or whatever you want to say so much that they really weren't going to give him money to make another movie. So a lot of it, that's why you noticed that in the original cut of Chasing Amy, there was actually no soundtrack for the film. I don't think there really, maybe in the theatrical, like if you saw it in the movie theaters, there may have been some background music in there, but he couldn't afford to pay for it. And it was pretty tight because he like basically blew his load, so to speak, on Mallrats, and it just did so poorly that they weren't going to fund another movie for him unless he made something that can kind of roll over profit. Lo and behold, came out Chasing Amy, which I actually kind of dodged it because I was figuring, no, I don't know if I want to see this, and I can't remember quite what happened, but I think I did want to see it, and I just waited too long because it looked very interesting, Chasing Amy, and it actually ended up being one of my, not only a film that I really like from Kevin Smith, but it's actually a film I just like in general, is like one of my top favorite movies of all times is Chasing Amy. So anyway, that movie kind of redeemed him for making Mallrats, which actually it's funny because years later, I think Mallrats did that on its very own. It kind of redeemed itself. It's got a message on my phone about Golden Globe Awards, which I am not watching tonight, as you notice. So, yeah, I kind of went off on a long spiel, but I just had to almost because, again, that whole thing was like basically what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is, if you're a person who kind of likes Kevin Smith's films, or, if one of your favorite films even was probably, because a lot of people who first got into Kevin Smith movies, actually their favorite one, like my friend Matt, I think he really liked it, was basically Mallrats. So to see a different twist, an alternative version, not only to this part of the movie, but the whole entire thing, I would say check out and get. It was $9 to buy it, so it wasn't that expensive, so it was worth it. And just in case, because I got to remind myself to do this, but my friend Matt suggested a movie called Her, and he's always like, well, I'll recommend something to you, Walter, but you never watch it. So I try to look for it, and I end up buying it for $6, brand new on DVD, because I looked at the DVD. The DVD was $10 or $6. The Blu-ray was $16, and I looked at, okay, is one in 1080p? It's a movie. It's a movie about a guy, and I have to explain this after I mention it, that the guy basically falls in love with his the voice on his computer. It's called Her. It actually has, how do you say his name? Wachovia Phoenix or something like that? Because I can't say his name correctly. I can't say anybody's name correctly. So, Joaquin Phoenix, I think it is. I think I said that correctly, shockingly. So, I'm not a big fan of him because he's just a little off the wall, but he actually apparently did a good job. I looked at the previews my friend Matt had sent to me. I was like, yeah, you know what? This actually does look really interesting. It might be one of those films, if I just rent it, I won't be satisfied with that. This might be a movie I'll have to watch again and again, maybe. I don't know yet. So I don't want to take that risk of renting the movie and then say, hey, why didn't I just buy it? So, and then I have this thing, if I buy something on Blu-ray, which I've done recently, or even 4K, I'll buy these high-definition movies and never, ever watch them. It was like it's a waste of money. So, and the thing is, I have that Xbox One, so if I buy the DVD, it's going to upscale it anyway, and it does a very nice job on the DVDs, by the way. So I bought it like, okay, it's like $10 cheaper. It's got free shipping. It was $6. It's brand new. It's not been touched by any other human hands except mine, and will be. And it hasn't come yet. It's going to come next week, I think Tuesday or so. So I'll sit down and try to watch it either before or, when I get back from Blairstown. So the whole thing is, it's a love story between, kind of a comedy, romantic comedy, where the guy actually falls in love with the voice on his computer. So my friend told me the whole entire premise, and it's like, I'm not going to ruin it because in case anybody else is interested. But it's all lowercase, and it's just 3 letters, Her. So, yeah, definitely, I did get that. And the reason for that was, it was kind of funny, but I told my friend Matt I had bought this SSD drive for my computer, and the thing freaking died. For some reason, it just died. I had my suspicions it was probably human error, but somehow, actually, it was a power outage in my house. That's what it was. So, human error, probably, but yeah, it was a power outage. Shorted out the damn hard drive. It was a 1 terabyte SSD drive. It cost me like almost $400. So, after that happened, it was like I paid it on PayPal, so they didn't give me the money back. They actually gave me as PayPal credit. And it's like, if you don't spend it, they're just going to keep it there for probably months, most likely, and then after a while, eventually they give you a check or cut you a check if it's still like you overpaid your account, which would have been fine. But you know me, maybe you don't, but I like to spend money. So it was like, hey, I got $400 here. It's like Christmas all over again for me. So I got some, stupid crap. I actually got a gift card from both my friend Matt and Todd, and I used most of that money that they gave me from Amazon. They gave me Amazon gift cards, buying goofy shit with that stuff, goofy stuff. So, yeah. And, hey, it was money I was given to Christmas to buy whatever I want, so I'm going to do that. Don't get a gift card and say, well, you know what, I actually really want to spend it on someone else. It's like, no, I'm going to spend it on myself. That's what it was given to for me to buy whatever I want to buy, and it's like money. It's not coming out of my pocket. It's coming out of somebody else's pocket. So I didn't have a problem with that. So, I bought some Suicide Squad stuff, like these more plush dolls, because I love Harley Quinn. What is it? What is her name? Harley Quinn. Why can't I remember her name? Because I'm always like thinking about her. I made a lot of jokes about it. Let me move my mic down. I'm putting Harley Quinn. Played. Oh, okay. I remember now. I just have to get my juice, my blood, my brain juices, whatever, flowing. It's Margaret Robbie. So, I bought a Margaret Robbie doll. I actually bought like 2 of them with the gift cards my friend Todd and Matt gave me, and some, other goofy shit. And some things like personal hygiene things that I buy. But, actually it's been working, but it's really expensive, though. The stuff that helps you regrow your hair when your hair thins out. And it seems like it's not working like 100%, but it's actually making definitely noticeable that my hair is darker and much thicker than it was before. It's still thin, but not as thin as before. So, I'll take what I can get. So anyway, with the $300 I had from PayPal, I actually used that, though, to get like some other things on, Amazon and eBay and stuff. But then I had like a little bit close to, I think I only had left from things I bought, like about $100 and some left. It's like, you know what? I should have gotten that money, because I'm really, really afraid now to rebuy an SSD drive, because there's nothing that proves to me that you really are, it's worth the money of paying, $500, $400 for an SSD drive. The performance definitely picks up when you boot up. It's there, yes. But stability-wise, I hate to tell you, but you've got more stability, and it can take more of an impact if there's a surge in your line or a power outage, which basically the power just went out. It just basically ruined the drive, the SSD drive. You have more likely, it's more likely that a conventional hard drive probably will last that impact more so than an SSD drive, because I've already proven that. Now, some people say, well, if you drop a hard drive a couple times, especially in a laptop, you're most likely going to knock the spindles off, because they're basically like records. They're metal records. They're basically metal discs, spindles that make up your hard drive in a conventional hard drive. So somebody actually said, and I kind of thought that way myself, so I'm not putting him down. He says, yeah, if you drop it enough times a laptop, you can lose everything, because you can knock the spindles off. But you know what? I hate to tell you, you'd have to drop a regular conventional hard drive on the ground so freaking hard you would end up smashing the laptop itself in order to get those spindles to knock off. They don't just fall. The platters just don't fall. They're in there, and they're in there pretty tight. I mean, everything's packed pretty tight in a 3.5-inch hard drive. I mean, there's no way in hell, even a 2.5, 2.5-inch hard drive, that stuff's packed pretty tightly. It's not going to fall off that easily. But I was convinced of that, and other people. But honestly, I've dropped my laptop, numerous laptops, literally, because I keep it in a duffel bag. But still, dropped it pretty hard, and I never had an issue that the platters had fallen off inside the hard drive, because the discs are sealed shut. You can't even open them up unless you basically get a can opener to open them up. I'm just saying that. Now, there was a person, I think, who did actually successfully back in the day. I think my one friend, Rich, did drop a hard drive hard enough that it literally, you could hear inside the platter going clunk, clunk, clunk. But honestly, that is pretty much impossible nowadays to do. I mean, the hard drives are made to take impact. your conventional hard drives. Now they keep on pushing for the SSD, and yeah, if the SSD starts to drop a little bit more, I would go for that. But honestly, for $500, you can buy a 10 terabyte hard drive, and the sectors are so tightly packed to make a 10 terabyte hard drive that your performance is going to be probably like maybe if you're lucky. It'd be about 10%, maybe 20% or 20 seconds or 10 seconds slower. So is that 10 or 20 seconds really going to make a difference between night and day? I mean, don't get me wrong, SSD is fast, but is it worth? I mean, you're going to get 1 terabyte for $500 or $400 or a 10 terabyte, which is a large amount of space on a hard drive, which actually is made pretty physically rock solid. Most of these conventional hard drives that are now 10 terabytes actually have a good life, long. What do you call it? I'm trying to think of the right word. Warranty for up to like 5 or so years. So that's not that bad. I mean, if you have 10, and you're probably thinking, well, if you got 10 terabytes of information and then that hard drive dies, which it will eventually die, what do I do because I just lost 10 terabytes? Well, I hate to tell you, the newer programs, and if you're like most people who really just suck up this stuff on, hard drive space by video games, because games are very big, or movies, especially if you like rip movies onto your hard drive so you have them as a backup. If you rip a brand new 4K film, by the way, folks, you're talking like 50 gigs just for one film. If you rip everything off the disc, at least 50 gigs. So, and even a Blu-ray is about, I think, 16 gigs or so. So you put a half a dozen movies, yeah, you're going to lose them. That's not going to change. But are you losing so much that it's going to be the end of the world? Probably not. Because as far as the thing is, as far as hard drives getting bigger, the problem is that it's become an issue also. The thing is, like, it's made developers, like people who develop games or mainly that's would be our programs and other people, it's just made them completely lazy because they figured, well, why do I need to make a source code, make a source code for a program or a game? Why do I have to, basically compile a tight, I guess that would be the best way to put it. I'm probably not using the right terminology. A tightly knit source code when I could just basically write sloppy source code, which is it's going to be much larger, but who gives a crap? Because, God, I'm working with like people who now own at least 1 terabyte hard drives. So it's made developers like very lazy. So the bottom line is the programs, the movies, and the games you buy, they've all become extremly large. But this basically the reason they became so large is because I've heard this through the grapevine too. The developers who make these programs and games and stuff, they just strictly became extremely lazy. So they're writing sloppy codes for these things, these programs in these games. And the movies have just gotten so big, too. They don't even bother. Like years ago, when you had a DVD, your audio files had to be compressed. So that's become kind of sloppy themselves. That's why the files are so big. One is because you're talking higher resolution. That's number one. But number two is they don't even bother. Like when you get music for your audio, your music, for your movies, none of that stuff is compressed anymore. It's all completely uncompressed, and it's a rather large file. Because, for the biggest time, people, why I made it so easy is because everything was so compressed. Basically, I think that's what came into the family, I guess, or into the same umbrella as people that would, make MP3s. Well, everything was compressed to make something fit on a CDs were, was it 700 meg or gigs? No, 700 gigs? I can't remember. No, not 700 gigs. 700 megs or something like that. I can't remember now. God, it's been so long. I think it's been 700 megs or for CDs. And then you had DVDs, which were 8.5 gigs. And then you had Blu-rays, which are 16 and 32 gigs. And now you have HD. Blu-rays can go up to, I think, 50 gigs or something. And the new ones are actually bigger than that. They're probably almost like 100 gigs. So the bottom line is, if you got all that room even on the disk, not even a hard drive, it's like, why should I bother to compress anything? Files or write clean source codes for games or for programs. Why should we have to? Because we have all this room. We don't have to. We can cheat. We can make sloppy, I call sloppy source code and other things. And that's basically what happened. So bottom line is, files have gotten bigger. And how that fits back into what I said, 10 terabytes has slowly become like nothing, pretty much. It's still kind of like expensive, but would you rather buy a 10 terabyte hard drive or a 1 terabyte SSD drive that's going to fill? And if you had the same experience I've had in the past, where just one good shock value, which it wasn't even that, it was a short in the house, the breaker tripped out, and it basically made the computer get funky and made the hard drive just not start up correctly. So I was shit out of luck without a hard drive. God, I liked a solid state drive, don't get me wrong. The other problem was, again, a terabyte used to be, back in the day, would be something more than you ever need, but that goes back to that old thing I think even Bill Gates probably said years ago when he made discussing, I don't want to say made, but when he was responsible for the original Windows, and it got up to I think Windows 95, and he said 1 gigabyte is more than you ever need, because the software was not that big. It was a few hundred megs, not even actually. It was probably a few megs. And he said, 1 gigabyte is more than you ever need. So now we're up to a terabyte. And I'm sure he probably said something, or somebody said something on that line. Well, 1 terabyte's more than you're ever going to need, and that's actually quickly becoming not true. Excuse me. So anyway, I discussed that long enough, and I've actually been talking for over an hour. So I'm not going to try to beat the Ryan and Todd Thomas episode. So anyway, really quickly, I'm going to go through these stories so quick your head should be spinning. MTV News, Ryan Reynolds is trying to change Hugh Jackman's mind about Wolverine Deadpool movie. That would be pretty cool, because now Logan, played by Hugh Jackman, he said this is going to be the last one. This is supposed to be called, originally, I heard that discussion between Todd and Ryan, this was supposed to be the last Wolverine movie. It was supposed to be called, I guess, Old Logan or something, Old Man Logan, and they just changed it then to just plain Logan, for Wolverine. And that was going to be the last time Hugh Jackman was going to actually slip the glove on, or whatever you want to call it, the blades, his fist. It's actually the titanium blades that come out of his knuckles. That was supposed to be the last time, but it seems like Ryan Reynolds is trying to convince him, come on, can you at least do one more movie with yourself as Logan and, excuse me, and me as Deadpool, meaning Ryan Reynolds. I got to get something to drink real quick, folks. It's going to be really warm iced tea. So, anyway, and I forgot to finish my one story, so I apologize, and I do want to go through these stories. When I was talking about all this stuff earlier, I can't remember where I put it in, so I have to just kind of interject this. It's not going to make any sense. So I apologize about this, but one of the things I bought, with all that money I got from PayPal, that $400, what was left, is I should have did that from the get-go, but I did not from the start, is I finally decided to get, and here I'm looking at somebody who has one of these, of all things. I decided to buy embarrassingly enough, a love dog. So I came to the conclusion, I am really never going to have any luck with women. So I figured, you know what, I'm turning 50 this year. No woman's going to want to deal with my issues or problems or anything like that. So I'd probably be better off by just buying a love doll and be over with it. So I bought one for like a cheaper one for $300. I don't know how big it's going to be. It seems like it's going to be mid-size. It's not going to be a full-size one, but big enough to do take care of my issues. So yeah, that was the bottom line. That what I did with the rest of the money. I actually had to fork out a little bit of money out of my pocket, out of my bank account, but try to make it not too much, and I try to keep it within reason, because years ago I remember Howard Stern talking about those, and that's when these real dolls were really god-awful expensive. So they made ones that were less expensive, but they're not, full size. They're big, but not, 7-foot size dolls, because those things would cost like a couple grand. I think when they first introduced, now they just basically get other companies to kind of mimic that idea of the real doll. Because the one I bought, I specifically looked at one that said lifelike real doll. So there was different ones. You can get the ones that are kind of like, obviously because they can mass produce them. And this one's coming from China. It's made cheaper, so it was like $300. So it was like, well, that's more in the price range I was in. I can afford without being too over the top with spending too much money that I can't really afford to spend. So I basically stuck with this. I bought it for like $300. I'm kind of curious. And my friend Matt said, how are you going to explain this to your parents? Why do you have a doll that's like almost life size? And it was like, well, I'll just have to keep in the box and make room somewhere to store it, which is not going to be that easy. So, and the reason I bring this up now, because I saw this, is from detonate.com. If you ever heard of the website, and it says the best read the worst of Walmart, and it has a picture of an older guy with his lifelike, one of these dolls, and he's in one of those chairs with his, I guess, doll girlfriend, and he's got it in Walmart on his lap, an older man, and it's like, yeah, that's going to be me. This older guy with carrying his girlfriend around, who's going to be basically what do you call it? I can't say the word right. Inanimate object. So it's kind of funny. People hate Walmart for multiple reasons. The low prices and are good enough for many to help them disregard the bad stuff in the mega store. But if you open your eyes, you'll notice everything you see at Walmart is amazing. Actually, in the bargain basement store, our customers themselves check these people out. And it says, we dare you not to puke. So it shows, again, I'm not even joking, this guy, an older man with gray hair, glasses, and he's got like basically a sex doll dressed up in clothes on his lap. And it's like, yeah, that's going to probably be me, but I'm not going to take it out in public. Trust me, I'm not that crazy. I am crazy, but not that crazy. So I just wanted to get that and finish that story. Oh, yeah, and I did mention about Phantasm because I thought I was going to kind of forget, but unfortunately I did not. So I actually signed up on Facebook for a Phantasm page. It's amazing how people like these movies. But there's actually a picture, a selfie of some really hot-looking blonde chick, Ashley Baker, and she's actually holding her hand in the selfie. Phantasm 2 and the remastered Phantasm movie. So, yeah, that's kind of actually very interesting. I don't know if Roberto knows that he's really, if he doesn't he realize the cult following that movie has brought about. A lot of different people and people you wouldn't even expect to like that film. So I'm just going to take that off the list because I said I'm going to try to get this done in a timely manner. Actually, you know what? I found this from HollywoodReporter.com. You've probably heard on the news about Carrie Fisher's brother. Basically, she was, what is it? She was, I don't want to say incinerated, but what do you call that? She decided to, she wanted to basically be, I can't think of the proper word, burned or whatever. So it says Carrie Fisher's urn is her prized possession, antique Prozac pill. So her brother, I didn't even know she had a brother, believe it or not. She has another brother and sister, Carrie Fisher. But the brother was carrying her urn, which actually her ashes from her being, what do you call that? Was basically her ashes were put in a gigantic Prozac pill, like something she had. So this Carrie Fisher was always making people crack a smile in life, and she made sure she got just one more out of them in death. It is revealed that Friday that Fisher's ashes were placed in a gigantic Prozac pill urn. So it's no joke, and there's a picture of it. And to me, that just seems a little bit inappropriately morbid or something. I don't know. I can't even think of the proper word, but I saw that, and I heard even my parents talk about that. I just thought that was like kind of inappropriate. So this is me. I take things way too seriously. Actually, I found this on somebody else's website, and this is actually very scary. It was on Seeker Network. This is no joke either. It's an actual web link, actually a Facebook page. And it says, this is everybody's worst nightmare about working at a job, but it says the day has come. Companies are now implanting microchips into their employees. What do you think about it? And let us know. So it shows this pretty hot-looking chick. She's getting a microchip put under her skin. So to me, I just think that is like, I can't even think, again, immorally wrong almost. I would definitely not accept that fact. If they want to implant a chip under my skin for a job, well, A, they better be paying me a hell of a lot of money, and two, I just would not do it. So, okay, here's something a little bit on the lighter note. I thought this was really funny, and no puns intended, but the site's called dailylaughter.info. .info. It's not even .com. And there's these unique cakes you can buy that are inappropriately funny, but they are really good. If not probably, I wouldn't want to eat them because they look pretty disgusting. Because one is, it says most hilarious goodbye cakes people got on their last day at work, and it shows you pictures of each and every one of them. And these are actually are definitely hilarious. Most hilarious goodbye cakes people got for their last day at work. One is a cake that looks like a litter box, literally like with litter and a cat scooper in there, and it says I will miss you, and it looks like the will miss you is spelled in what looks like fecal matter with an exclamation point. So it looks like cat turds spelling out will miss you in a litter box tray. So that is pretty unique for a going away, and it's actually edible. It just looks like disgusting. The other one's it's a Batman emblem cake, and it says, just like Batman's parents, you're dead to us. So these are going away cakes you can buy. One is of a back of a monkey with its male monkey because it has its testicles, hanging down. It says, and it's actually pictured on a cake, a going away cake, Balls Voyage Becky, exclamation point. And there's one that says, another cake that says, fuck this shit, I'm out. So maybe I need that cake to go away with. And the last one is with Grumpy Cat, pictures of different people, and it's, different pictures. One is of Grumpy Cat says, no, just no. One does simply not leave, another picture, leave Negway County. Don't understand that. Carl, really, so the person's name must have been Carl, and that was with Luke Picard picture. And it's all in the same cake. The other one is of Luke Skywalker going that no. And there's that cartoon figure of some guy, some cartoony looking figure I've seen on Facebook before. It says, oh, I can't read that one. It's too small. Carl to no, stay we're four-eyed. I can't really read that one, but the cakes are pretty funny. These are going away cakes. You want to just do something kind of humorous. So I thought that was really cool. I'm actually going up to an hour and a half. I apologize. I saw this the other day, and it definitely got to me because I've heard this. It's a piece of music. It was actually a YouTube video I saw, and it was actually of this 12-year-old girl that was on America's Got Talent. And it was like, okay, well, I've seen enough of these kids that can sing. But this girl, actually, I've heard her song on the radio. And it says, Grace Vander Wall, 12 years old, on a ukulele, plays Gets Golden Buzzer, America's Got Talent 2016. Anyway, I thought it gives the name of the song because I've heard the song. I should have actually incorporated it into the show. She's from New York, and I heard this, was like, oh my God, I've heard this song on the radio. I never thought it was a 12-year-old singing it. So the kid's got kind of a scratchy voice, but I heard this and was like, wow, this is actually pretty amazing that I've actually heard this. This is like a mainstream song that I never would have suspected it was sung by a 12-year-old little girl. So her song became very popular because I've definitely heard it on the radio, and when I heard it, it was like, I know this song. And I actually put tears in my eyes almost. So, anyway, that was pretty good. It's some girl from America's Got Talent. Real quick, by the way, if you did not notice, I've seen this posted a lot because they have a fanzine page for Kid Rock. Not a big fan of his music, but it seems like he will be one of the only ones, or at least one of, hopefully more, who is actually going to be supporting the 45th president, Donald Trump, on Inauguration Day. Yeah, Trump's going to be the 45th president of the United States. So, yeah, Kid Rock is actually definitely supporting this, and he is backing him up, and at least that's cool. I mean, Kid Rock's done a lot of different music. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I do see it a lot, so I just figured I'd kind of interject that. Another thing is, Ryan was talking about this maybe when we were done our show. We didn't talk about this on the show that I did with Ryan. But this was kind of weird, but I kind of didn't want to disappoint Ryan or say something that I just disagree with him, I should say. But Ryan's a person, I guess he kind of believes in that whole global warming thing, which I have an article in front of me. That's why I'm bringing this up. And I keep on seeing more stories, and I want to read these newer stories. So anyway, here I found, lo and behold, was from yournewswire.com, and it says tens of thousands of scientists declare climate change a hoax, which I kind of agree with, and so did Todd. We just didn't want to get into a discussion with Ryan about that, because I love Ryan. He's a cool dude, but I just don't want to do that. It says a staggering 30,000 scientists have come forward confirming that man-made climate change is a hoax. Perpetrated by the elite in order to make money. So that I've heard that before more than once from different sources that, yeah, this whole global climate change thing is just, at first it was called global warming, and they say the polar ice caps are melting, and then it was changed into climate change because it seemed like when they could not prove that the polar caps were actually melting, which some people still believe, like Ryan. Then they had to change it into a whole different theory. Well, okay, maybe it's not global climate change, but what it actually is, it's some type of global. It's not global warming, but it is some sort of global climate change. So when they could not win with the tactic of, okay, things are warming up, they changed it that the temperatures are changing by going down. Like they just did not want to give up on that. And the whole purpose of this, according to what I know and what I'm gathering from this story, is it's all in a matter for the elite to, meaning the elite would be the Democrats, because the people that are liberals, so to speak, as well, that, they don't want to lose their source of this income of money coming in from people that are basically too naive to see the truth and will believe any type of Armageddon or something taking place, like anything that's negative, that especially that I'm trying to think that the left will brainwash people into believing people do. The more negative, the end of the world is going to happen by next year. People are all going to jump on that bandwagon and say, oh yeah, this is the truth. Now, I'm sure, not that this would happen, I'm sure if the the right, the Republican, the conservative side would say nonsense like this, people would kind of take it for what it really is, which is nonsense. But the fact that the left is saying this, they could basically, that old joke we always use at my job when we want to say something, hey, I could sell you oceanfront property in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And the Democrats really could actually do that to most of these liberals, I hate to tell you. It's sad, but it's actually true. Sorry, I'm going through these horrendous pictures on the worst customers in Walmart. They seem like they never grow old because the pictures always seem to change to some other interest. You know what? And the funny thing is, I'm looking at these pictures right now. I've never caught any of these kind of people, my experience at Walmart. I mean, I've seen some people that were kind of risky or whatever, but never to the extent that they show you on these links, unless they take pictures of me and I just don't know, and maybe I'm one of them. Because, hey, I'm the one who now has soon to have a real doll of some sort. Anyway, speaking on that, talking about crazy people, this was on ebombsworld.com. A friend had sent this to me, and it's actually for real. This woman basically needs to calm the fuck down because she's like literally flipping out. This girl is flipping out in her car, and some guy's recording her, and she's cursing at the guy in front of him, and then she's cursing at the car on the side of her. She's like literally going AWOL. And then she's like cursing at the guy recorder because she doesn't catch it at first. And it is entertaining, but again, I'm like thinking in the back of my head, is this somebody who actually probably was I hate to tell you this, but a Hillary supporter, because she definitely would fit into that category of nutcases that I've been hearing about. And speaking about that, the other incident that just happened a few days ago, not even, was actually on Friday, was that the incident in Fort Lauderdale, sorry about that, airport. The guy who ended up killing some people, I think it was 5 people, and he said he did it in the name, like he heard something from Islam or something like that. Oh, in the name of ISIS. This guy goes on a shooting spree at the airport in Fort Lauderdale. Sorry for muffing that up. But, yeah, and actually the one story I read, somebody actually what saved her life was, no joke, because I'm a big Apple fan, was their MacBook that actually had taken the hit of the bullet and saved their life. So that was in an article. So, yeah, but you heard a little bit about this because, it was like something that basically, so to speak, Pandora's box was opened, so you couldn't put it back in. But let's face it, I'm sure they were trying to look to see if this guy was somehow, even though he looked like somebody who would affiliate himself with ISIS, they will find a way. They will find a way to say, well, maybe this guy was a conservative on the Tea Party. I'm sure that's what they would try to do if they could. Anyway, a friend sent me this article. I'm going through these quickly because, again, it's over an hour and a half now. From New York Post, new dad teacher accused of sex with student. So I'm not going to say much more, but it was in the New York Post. It was actually on my webpage. You can just kind of dig it through on Facebook. Just days after celebrating New Year's with the birth of his second daughter, the first baby of 2017 at Las Vegas Hospital, a substitute teacher and a football coach at an area high school was arrested for allegedly having inappropriate contact with an 18-year-old female student, according to reports. Ryan Davis, 29, was arrested on Wednesday of last week on charges of 2 counts of sexual misconduct with a student 3 days after he welcomed little Ryan Davis, firstborn baby of 2017. And they have a mugshot of this guy. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm keeping my mouth shut on this. Actually, this really got to me, not in a bad way or good way, but God, I felt like such an idiot on a different story. Somebody actually posted, rest in peace, little buddy, Bob Denver, 1935 to 2017. I took the bait. It was on Facebook. I took had taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker, actually believed it. Excuse me. Not realizing that Bob Denver died like 12 years ago. He died in 2005. So 2005 to 2015 would be 10 years. So that's 12 years ago. So, God, I hate to tell you, folks, but I felt like a real moron that I actually fell for that. Again, hook, line, and sinker that the man died. Yeah, he died all right, like 12 years ago. So, yeah, I felt like such a freaking idiot. Not that hard to do, I know. Another interesting story, Daily Mail. I don't know if I found this myself or Todd had given to me, but either way, it's just very disturbing. Daily Mail, again, I'm a normal guy. I think it's supposed to be fantasize. I just fantasize about 6-year-olds. Virtuous pedophile who is aroused by girls age 13 but doesn't act on his impulses reveals why his British wife stood by him. They have a picture of the dude, too. So this guy basically gets, he's an older man. I'll figure out his age because I can't find it right now. Says he gets aroused by 13-year-olds. And he's got, his wife is older than him. A self-described virtuous pedophile who admits to be sexually attracted to girls as young as 6 has spoken about how he lives with his urges and he plans to help other people cope with theirs. So the man, Gary Gibson, 65, of Oregon, has set up a nonprofit organization, the Association for Sexual Abuse Prevention, to help people like him who choose not to offend. So I don't know how to take the guy's 65, and he actually gets sexually aroused by anywhere from 6-year-olds to 13-year-olds, and he's married to a woman who looks like even older than he is, and he's 65. The whole thing is just kind of bizarre. The Christian ex-teacher whose family has a history of ancestral child abuse is one of 1,800 members of an online forum for non-offending pedophiles. Very interesting story. So the guy is basically a pedophile. What would you call it? Would that be called like Pedophiles Anonymous or something like that? Like, Alcoholics Anonymous. So it would be PA instead of AA or, people, that would be Alcoholics Anonymous. What's one for substance abuse? I can't remember. So some type of sobriety thing of some sort where he kind of, curves his cravings for having sex with children. It's kind of weird, I'll tell you that much. Just wanted to mention that. So this one was kind of funny, a different story, not the last one. But friend sent me this from the morning call. Pat Toomey, again, tapped to maintain Senate candy stash. And it shows this picture. It looks like it must have been on the 4th of July, where he's got hovering on a crane an oversized peep. Those marshmallow peeps, an oversized one, like one has to be on a crane. So it was a story you can find, again, on Facebook. Because, again, it's almost 2 hours, and it's a lot longer than I wanted it to be, on Pat Toomey and Peeps. So if you want to read that one, look on the morning call or just look on my Facebook page and dig down. You will find it. Again, these are going to be rushed through at this point because of the time that it's been taking me to get done tonight's show. And I won't be doing any more this week, probably not until I get back or maybe when I'm down. I might do one down in Blairstown, but I seriously doubt it. New York Post story, by the way, I'm going to read next, is man admits to using a syringe to spray his semen on women. This was on July 5th, so it was like 3 days ago. Timothy Blake, 28, was charged with pandering, obscenity, sexual imposition, and 2 counts of Manus by stalking after two female customers complain of the man following them around the Marriott, Ohio superstore and squirting them with a sticky substance. So he actually sprayed his semen on women at this Marriott, it looks like, I think I said. Speaking about things, Marriott. Oh, no, it's not Marriott. The Marriotti, something like that. So it's some type of place. I don't know. Terrorism, several women in Ohio Walmart. So wait, I'm sorry, not Marriotti. Well, it does say that though. The man was arrested for allegedly filling syringes with his own semen and then terrorizing several women at an Ohio Walmart by spraying them with his own semen, basically, according to the police report. So there you go. There's another wacky person at Walmart besides me and the ones I was looking at just a few minutes ago. So something about Walmarts do drag out the worst of the worst, I assume. Yeah, so I gotta get through these stories if I can. I'm just actually kind of looking to see if there's anything worth mentioning or added on, which I really don't kind of want to do at this point, considering, again, time restraints and on my part, because I don't want to spend all night on editing this thing together either. So I'm just taking a look, because every time I look, somebody looks at a Facebook thing I might have put up and comments on it or something. I do have another story from Clearwater, Florida, and this is kind of weird. Boy 10 fatally shoots himself after his mother sent him to his room. So, yeah, that's the way you deal with it, I guess. The kid took care of his problem by himself, and apparently forever. That was on Dream and Demon. I'm not going to go into large detail about these stories because it is getting very late for myself. Another story from Dream and Demon. Woman charged with murder after mutilating her young daughter to death. All these, and this was from Kyle, Texas. Police have charged a woman with murder after she mutilated a 5-year-old daughter before attacking her father-in-law. The stories just never cease to amaze me, I guess, so to speak. I'm actually winding down by just not reading these stories in their entirety, thank God. Because otherwise I'd be here for forever. So, okay, there's two more stories. One was actually good way to end the story on a lighter note. Let me put it that way. Almost 2 hours. It was from a link called Batman/news.com. New image from Justice League shows Batman, Wonder Woman, and the team standing tall. So it's a very cool picture. The picture actually does have Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, The Flash, and Aquaman standing side by side. It's a new teaser, I guess, for the upcoming Justice League film, which I don't know if that's coming out next or if Wonder Woman is coming out next. That's kind of what I'm not too sure about. But in the DC universe, there is going to be a lot heading our way. Obviously, with the Justice League film, and then there will be the Wonder Woman film, which they've shown a lot of trailers for. And then apparently my friend Matt told me they're going to be making a Harley Quinn film. So that would be kind of cool, too. There's going to be a whole bunch of DC films coming out. And actually, again, I've said this before, but they're the ones I'm actually looking forward to more than anything else. Speaking about, which I should have looked at this before, but Margaret Robbie spotted reading this Harley Quinn comic book, was on comicbook.com, and it was Harley Quinn. It was the comic. This is issue number 1, a Valentine's Day special. So Margaret Robbie was photographed reading a comic book at the LAX airport, which obviously is in Los Angeles, California, on Tuesday, November 15th. The photo has recently received quite a bit of attention as an online sleuth have been trying to determine which comic had her full and undivided attention, because obviously she is going to continue hopefully, because she did such a wonderful job. She did a very good job in playing the role of Harley Quinn, which obviously she is going to be doing once again. So anyway, there's some photos of that too, of her. Not to follow. She is literally actually reading the comic book and actually quite involved in reading it too, by the looks of it. It's kind of funny. Yeah, she's doing some not selfies, but she's taking pictures, I guess, with some fans at the airport by the looks of it. And these are actually all on Twitter. But yeah, it's kind of funny to see her. It's Margaret Robbie Turkey. Somebody, it was another, because I'm following most of Margaret Robbie's web pages, but this one's kind of like really cool. So, and this actually I didn't realize. I kind of went off on another area, or whatever you want to call it, because I didn't expect that to lead to, from Facebook to Twitter or wherever I got that article, but it led me back to Twitter this time instead of Facebook. So anyway, folks, this is Walter from iWalter, and as I promised, I don't want to, make a night out of this, which I've actually already have. It's going to go on 11 o'clock. So I'm going to finish this up, wrap it up, and I hope you enjoyed my show. As I want to say with a question mark, as always, because generally I doubt people enjoy my show unless I have somebody else on to actually kind of get involved. Anyway, actually, it's funny because right now I'm watching, I think they're showing a marathon. If anybody, it's going to be too late by the time they are able to listen to me. But right now on Sci-Fi, as I'm speaking, they're doing a marathon of all the Final Destination films. So I didn't know this, but this one chick, I always thought she was really hot. I knew she was in more than one of the films, but she only got listed honestly in the first film, but not in the second, but yet she is in here in Final Destination 2. And the reason it brought my attention, not only because I always thought she was really hot, she was actually in the TV series of Heroes as well. I can't remember her name. But anyway, she's from actually Jersey. So, I think Chestnut Hill, New Jersey. Let me see if I can find it again since I'm done all my stories. Pull this up because I got to end my show and I was just ready to. She's a blonde-haired chick, and the first movie she had dark hair, and then her hair was really actually blonde. And it looks like Allie Larder is her name. She's 40 years old. She's exactly 10 years younger than me. And, she's from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which I've been there before. I always thought she was really hot. I knew her face looked very familiar. They said she was actually in those, films, too. I guess I do remember that now. She was in those films because she kind of looks very similar to, Resident Evil. The chick who plays in Resident Evil, she looks a lot like her. But but this chick is a different one. She played in at least some of the Final Destination movies, at least the first two. But it was just kind of weird because, and she was in that. I remember now she was in Heroes. But yeah, I didn't realize she was from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is like, hip. It's jump, skip, and hop, whatever how you say that, away from where I live. So that's kind of like really kind of wild. Anyway, folks, I said this, and I'm saying it again. Thank you so much for listening to me. And as I said it before, thank you for enjoying me, or something I said like that. Anyhow, thank you for listening to me. This is Walter from iWalter. And yes, I am signing off for tonight. And I'm trying to think. I'll see. Maybe I'll bring my stuff on the road if I'm down in Blairstown, but don't expect me to do anything besides just me talking. And then later on, the end of the month, this is going to be a very packed month for me, even though there will only be 1 or 2 more shows, if possible. Just to let you know that if I can help it, I will try to try to do another thing with Ryan if possible. I can't guarantee anything. So thanks again, and everyone have a good evening and have a good week, because, again, I won't be able to do a show probably most likely until, next weekend. So thanks again for tuning in if you did. This is Walter from iWalter, and yes, I am signing off for now.